I love the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, which have been adapted by many programs to help people suffering from other addictions and also other compulsions, and even in with those that are struggling with a relationship with an addict or somebody who is unhealthy or dysfunctional, which I have spent many years in 12-step programs. And I often just automatically, when I have a new situation come up and it is overwhelming, or it is a crisis, or it is something big that I just am really aware, like this is a tough one, I will often do what I call the 3-step dance. And that is to work through steps 1, 2, and 3 again, and to go specifically through them and master the principles in each one before moving to the other. And it makes a tremendous difference in whatever situation I'm dealing in or dealing with. So I want to do that with you now to show you how to do that. So the first step is, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, but when you're in, or addictions, but when you're in dealing with something else, people often say powerless over the alcoholic or the addict, or powerless over people, places, and things, that our lives had become unmanageable. So the first step has quite a few very important things in it that you need to do. And the first thing is that you need to admit. Admit means that you recognize it first, that your life is, that you're powerless, that you're struggling to exert power over something or someone, and that you are powerless. You have to recognize that you're trying to exert that power, what you're trying to exert that power over, how you are trying to exert that power, and then you need to admit, I'm powerless. Powerless means without power. It is taking a cord to a vacuum or a blow dryer or a power tool, plugging it in the wall and having it not work a little bit, but not work at all. Why? There is no power. You have no power over other people, getting them to do what you want, getting them to face a truth, getting them to recognize the pain that you're in the relationship, or getting them to admit that there is an addiction or something that is unhealthy. No matter what, you have to recognize you are powerless. You're also powerless over circumstances that are out of your control. Somebody's illness, somebody's choice to do something that you don't approve of, somebody, a son or a daughter marrying someone that you don't think is the right partner, or somebody moving away from you, or a partner getting a divorce, things that you don't want in your life, maybe a lost job, the economy, all kinds of things that government do, things that are happening in the world. We are powerless over quite a few things, and exerting that power causes us to find out that our lives are unmanageable, as this step says. Unmanageability. It's a word we don't often use, but unmanageable means not manageable. Manageable means that you can handle them. You can take care of them. You can do what you need to do, that it's not overwhelming, that it's not something that's falling apart, something that's not working. When you try to exert power over other people, we often become obsessed, just like the addict is obsessed with the substance or the activity and can't think about anything else, and is going to allow their life to fall apart as they pursue that addiction. We too, when we are wanting to fix people, change people, get people to realize their addiction, get them to realize their unhealthy behavior, we become obsessed. Sometimes we get to where we can't think about anything else. We don't take care of our relationships. We don't function well at work. We don't function well at home. Sometimes we get sick physically, emotionally, mentally, because of that obsession. So admitting that we can't control them is something that we have to do. When we're obsessed and we're doing all these things, our life is often falling apart. Our jobs, we're not doing well. Our relationships are suffering. Our physical health and our mental health is suffering. So admitting that powerlessness. The scripture says in Romans 7:18, for I know that good itself does not dwell in me, that is, in my sinful nature. For I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out. We are often powerless, not only over circumstances and other people, but over our own choices and our own sin nature, that we can say, okay, I'm going to let this go, but we're not letting it go. We're still hanging on. We're still trying to have power over it. We're still thinking that we can fix it. So we have to recognize, hey, sometimes I don't even have power over myself and what I'm doing. Step one means powerless, means I can't. The next one is step two, and it says, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. You've often hear in meetings that first you came, then you came to, meaning you woke up and you realized what was going on, and then you came to believe. Now, for those of us who are Christians, we may skip over this step very easily and say, well, of course I believe there's a power greater than myself that can restore me to sanity. I'm a Christian, I know God. Don't do that. I want you to take, and when you're journaling, and to work these steps in the 1, 2, 3 dance, the 3-step dance, you got to journal. You got to journal in step one. What are you powerless over? I make lists. I'm powerless over government. I'm powerless over the economy. I'm powerless over this person's choices. I'm powerless over this person's job. I'm powerless over this person's feelings about me. I'm powerless, and I just write lists, bullet points lists. And then sometimes I write sentences and paragraphs about how I'm struggling. Then you write a list of how you're trying to exert power over that person. And then you write a list of how your life is unmanageable because of it, what is not working for you. But in step two, you're going to write about getting hope, how you need to get your focus back on to God, and how you need to get to the point where you believe that God can restore you and your loved one. You can write separately about that, to sanity. So this is all in the process of letting go. So you want to write how you're not believing, because when you're trying to exert power and force somebody to change, you're believing you can do that. Now you need to let go of that belief that you can do it, and you need to embrace a new idea. God can do it. God can restore you to sanity, because often you're not sane when you're doing these things. And sanity means sound judgment. You don't have sound judgment when you're trying to control people and places and things. You don't have sound judgment when you're engaging in an addiction. You don't have sound judgment when you're trying to force somebody in a relationship to recognize something or to change. You're often unreasonable. You're often out of control. You're often, rude, angry, resentful, all kinds of things. And you're often not focused on the right things. So you're going to write about how you are coming back to believe that God can restore you to sanity, and then your loved one, the person you're trying to change, how God can restore your loved one to sanity. And I want you to write what sanity is. Sanity is sound judgment. What will it look like when you are sane versus not sane right now, when you don't have sound judgment? What will it look like when the other person has sound judgment? So you're going to believe that God can make that happen. How? I don't know. You don't know. You don't have control over that. You don't know how God will use circumstances, how God will use a bottom, how God will use whatever the situation is. I've seen it happen many, many times. I've had it happen in my own life, where God uses things that you've been most afraid of happening, And yet God can use that and turn it around and restore you to sanity and restore your loved one to sanity. And even if your loved one doesn't get restored to sanity, you can be sane. And that's the idea of working the steps in your life. Regardless of what other people do, you are restored to sanity. So Philippians 2:13 says, "For it is God who works in you to will and to act in order to fulfill his good purpose." So God is working in our lives. God is restoring us. God is helping us to be able to be restored for his good purpose. So we hope and we know we can't, I can't, but he can. That's what step 2 is. Then we go to step 3. And step 3 says, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. Now, again, as Christians, you may think, oh, yeah, I get that thing. I understand surrender. I trust God. Don't assume that. Don't use that as a reason to not go through this step, because you are taking each of these situations and you're applying them specifically to the situation that it is that you're powerless over, that is out of control in your own life. So next, when you say, the scripture is Romans 12:1, "Therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship." So you're going to give your whole life to God. Now, we sing songs about that in church. We talk about that. We're used to saying, oh, yeah, I trust God. You know what? I don't think I really learned what it was to trust and surrender until I used the 12 steps and I learned to break it down. So surrender means, I think I'll let him. I'm going to let go and I'm going to let God do it. Remember, I came to believe that God would restore me to sanity and my loved one to sanity. Now I'm going to let go. Just because I believed in step 2 doesn't mean I've let go. I can believe God can do it, but I might still have my hands in there. I still might be doing all the things that I have been doing to try to force it rather than specifically letting go. So the third step in your dance, in your working out this situation with the wisdom of the 12 steps, is you're going to focus on surrender. You're going to write a list of everything that you're letting go of, everything that you're turning over. And literally it's putting out your hand and giving it to God. And then God tells us he'll take it. Okay, he will take it. You're turning your life over to him. He wants to have your life. He wants to direct your life. He wants to bring your life into that place where you have that surrender to him so that he can work according to his will. So you're going to focus on letting go. Surrender, you don't surrender unless you've gone through a fight. You surrender when you're waving that white flag of, okay, I give up, I'm exhausted, I can't do this anymore, I've tried in my own strength, I am done fighting. You surrender when you know you can't win. We can't win when we do it our way. Our way is not God's way. So when we're trying to take those situations, those people, those circumstances are beyond our control, we've got to surrender our will that things happen a certain way, our will that things that we are afraid of don't happen. I recently had a family member who went completely to the bottom. It was the last thing that I wanted to see. And it is what anyone would say is like the thing you fear with your adult children that have problems. But God turned it around and used every single aspect of this that was bad in itself for a good reason. And it couldn't have been any more perfect. I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't change the accident. I wouldn't change the injury. I wouldn't change the futile a suicide attempt. I wouldn't change the having COVID and being sick. God used each of these things in those circumstances. And it was a very difficult time for her and for me. But God used every single one to bring about healing and surrender. And I'm just sitting back saying, wow, I couldn't have imagined it this way. I wouldn't have done it this way. I would have done it wrong. I wouldn't have done it with what needed to happen. So God knows. So basically, you surrender after that, and you're saying, God, take my will the way I want it to happen. What I don't want to happen, I surrender to you. What I want to happen, I surrender to you. I'm going to let go. I'm going to let you figure it out. I'm going to let you orchestrate it. Do we still have a will? Absolutely. We have a will to choose. We're still making choices. We're still making decisions, but we're telling God, it doesn't have to be my way. It doesn't have to happen my way. I'm not going to try to force it to be my way. I'm going to let go. I'm going to let you work. And he does gladly with many, many, many promises. So we are turning our life over to him. So when you do the 3-step, it means you work steps 1, 2, and 3 in order, journaling, writing everything down. And you are going to walk through each and every one. When you get done with step 3, and I mean after you have worked step 3 and you have gotten to the end of that, you will no longer be, your life will no longer be unmanageable. You will have hope. You will be restored to sanity. You will be believing that your loved one will be restored to sanity. And you will be letting go of your will as to how that has to happen and what has to happen. And there will be surrender and there will be peace. So I'm going to suggest when you get into that situation, or just any situation, when it feels out of your control, you go back to steps 1, 2, and 3. And what if you're not in a recovery program? Use them anyway. They are scriptural. They are wonderful tools to get you to that place. They are God-inspired. You don't have to be in a 12-step program to use this as a tool for healing in your life. So, all right, thank you for listening to this video on Change My Relationship. And I should tell you, I do actually have on my website a 12-step audio study where you can work through all 12 steps from a Christian basis. It has this in there, and then it also has the other 9 steps. If you're interested in that, I will put a link in the bottom of this video, and you can look more at that. So thank you.